On today's show, we see Kay's spiritual birth when she has trouble getting over a wall in a helicopter. Meanwhile, Heather has shown that her biggest issue is that she thinks things are not worth the effort. Welcome to the Dream Interpretation Podcast with Michael and Sandy.
Hello, welcome everybody. We are so excited you are here.
This is another half hour of us eavesdropping on the very personal communication between the spirit world and you, a soul on an earth journey. That's why we focus on dreams, because as a soul on an earth journey, the spirit world and your dreams are going to show you what you need to focus on right now at this very moment in your life. Through analyzing your dreams, I reveal your potential and the obstacles you need to overcome. I'm very specific. I tell you what your superpowers are. You already have them. And what would make you magnificent if you use them. But I also tell you the bumps in life that are holding you back. But these bumps are not in the way. They are the way. To get your dream analyzed on our show, go to dream-analysis.com/podcast. Fill in the form that's there. Or simply email radioshow@dream-analysis.com. That's all you have to do. Sandy.
Wow. So hang in there, guys. We've got some exciting stuff coming up very soon in May. So, and the lead up to it too. So I'm excited about what's coming, and we'll be able to tell you more hopefully next week. But anyways, let's dive in.
We can say it's a 3-day event like our October event, but it's all new stuff.
Yes, and it's more woo and very interesting for spiritual seekers because there's all kinds of different things in this one. So I'm really excited about it, Michael. Anyways, we're going to dive in. The first thing we have is a question from Jess. And it says, hi, Michael and Sandy. If dreaming of actors means that you are a channel because actors are told what to say, what could be the meaning of a stand-up or improv comedian? Do they have a different significance than actors since they write and present their own material? I know I am a channel, but I dream of famous comedians, both stand-up and improv, far more than actors. And if I do dream of an actor, they are usually a comedian too. Like, for example, Bill Murray. Anyways, thanks.
All right.
Michael.
Yes, I have seen this. First of all, you're a channel if you dream of Bill Murray, and if you dream of a comedian who is also an actor, obviously you are a channel. But the comedian part is usually that you have the ability to talk about deep subjects. So you're able to bring them to people in a lighthearted way. And that's what that's going to be about. So don't be afraid to be yourself. Don't be afraid to tackle subject matter the same way a comedian would. They usually will point out issues that are going on in our life or in the world, in society, but they point it out from an angle that makes us all go, didn't think of it that way. But they also make it very light at the same time, even though they're often talking about us being the fools that they're describing on the stage. So it says that you have that ability to bring a lightness to pretty deep subject matters that is very helpful for people.
Wow, that is so cool. What an awesome gift. Anyways, I'm ready to dive into dreams. How about you? You ready, Michael?
Let's do it.
Alrighty. The first one is from Heather, and it's called The Crystal. I like the name. I'm at a house I'm renting, and some colleagues, no one that I know in real life, come to visit me. They are university graduates. I have no makeup on and am conscious of this, but then realize this is as good as it gets. They can just accept the real me. One of the women show me her crystals, and one of them is a Danburite prismatic crystal. I tell her they are rare, and she agrees and says the one she has was very expensive. The students asked me how I know about these crystals, and I explained I studied geology at the university, which is true in real life. The female graduate asked me to go with her to a yoga class next door, which is on at 10 o'clock a.m. the next morning. But then she has to cancel on me as she has to see her professor for some art mentorship. I'm next in the center of town, and a huge really huge, wave rises up out of nowhere. It's unbelievably high. As it comes over me, I realize I can't escape this. So I take in a deep breath. However, the massive wave retreats and I'm safe. I don't think I could have survived. Next, I'm jumping over a wall with a black female friend who's behind me. I don't recognize her in real life. We jump over the wall easily, and one of the walls is really wobbly. I tell her it's about to collapse. I'm also note-taking in a lot of my dreams lately, and this is a new one for me. That was last note was her comment about the dream. So anyways, Michael, you get to take over, what you have to say about this one.
Okay, so I included this one because it's a little bit different than we would normally have. So like she says at the start, renting a house with some colleagues, they come to visit, they're university graduates. So this is kind of like celebrate who you are because they're graduates. But she calls them students. And I was saying, do you mean students or graduates? He goes, oh yeah, I call graduate students. Well, that's weird because they've already graduated. They're no longer students. They're out doing their own thing or maybe enhancing the field, etc. But then she says, I realized that I have no makeup on and this is as good as it's going to get and they can accept the real me. And I would normally say, this is a fantastic thing to see in dream because it's like, I'm not putting on this false pretense or making up a face that everything's good in my life when it isn't and so on and so on. And my angels were like, no, that's not what this is about. Look at the theme. She keeps doing this throughout the dream. So here we have, they can just accept the real me. And we see it coming up later on. But what it means here is it's not worth the effort. That's really what she's getting at. It's not about accepting the real me. It's like, I could do this, but it's not worth the effort or there's no point in this. I'm not going to push myself. That's what they're really pointing out. So this is what she has to fix. And then we have the danburite crystal. And I looked that up. I don't know anything about it. But it's about enhancing communication and spiritual growth. So they want her to get that crystal. When I channel on it, that's what they say. In fact, this dreamer is really good with crystals, using them for herself. So she has that special affinity. And this is quite interesting. We will often see that crystals show up in a dream. And even in my book, I say that can indicate you're a crystal healer, but it doesn't always. In fact, it seems to be less than 50% of the time it means it. It usually, it's about something being precious in your life that you need to see as valuable, or that you need to use the crystal in some way. And here it's a case of using this crystal for herself. And she's got a really strong connection with crystals. They said like she gets 10 times the value out of them than a regular person, whatever that means. But it means the crystal is really good for her. And then we move on. She explains she studied this. That's great. So she has a past history of understanding crystals. Then they ask her to go to a yoga class, but it gets cancelled because her professor has some art mentorship. And again, it's like, I asked her, do you do yoga? And she goes, I really like yoga. And I said, no, wait, do you do yoga? And she said, no. And I said, why? And I said, wait, before you tell me, what the angels are saying is that you think it's great, but in order to get anywhere good, you'd have to do it for 1.5 years. And it's not worth the effort to do that. And she goes, it's exactly right. It would take all that time. And so it's the same theme as earlier. It's not worth putting on the makeup. It's not worth the effort. So here we have it a second time. And then, of course, it would have been at 10 a.m., so it'd be a good thing to do. So we can see the theme here is like, she's presented with things to do, but she's like, they're not worth it. And then we have this next one where this huge wave is coming. And this one's even shown more strongly. And she's saying, it's unbelievably high. I realize I can't escape this. So I take a deep breath because she knows she's gone. It's a goner. And of course she doesn't. She survives it. But the point is she does nothing to escape it because there is no point. This is already going to get me. That's the theme of the dream. 3 times over, very, very strongly. So she has to work on fixing this. And of course, she has to work on fixing it through the feminine side because they're the people that show up in the dream. And even here then at the end, we have a black female friend who's behind her. And I thought normally that would be about fears around mom and things like that. And it's not in this dream. Now, there's going to be an element of that for her because I just said she has to work on her feminine side. But this says that she has a gap between her fears and where she's at in life. But the gap is tiny. And that's what the black female friend behind her is like. this is another version of her that's keeping up with her, but it represents the fears and stuff that I haven't dealt with. And there's only this short gap. So if I stopped running, then these would catch up with me. Like that's how close they are. And of course, that means then that she does have to work on issues around the feminine side, heal issues around mom, so that they're not there. They're not behind her all the time and just ready to grab her. But quite an interesting, different take on some of the normal symbols that we would see in dreams. And we're going to see that later on with helicopters in a later dream, how it can mean something different than what it normally would be. But I love the dream because it's very clear. Once you know what it is, you can't argue. But we do have Sandy on the show.
And I want to know what the walls are and the one that's wobbly. What is that all about?
Yeah, so we'll often see that, and we'll see that in the dream with the helicopter. Trying to get over a wall is overcoming obstacles in your life. And what we normally see in dreams, especially if somebody has a recurring dream of climbing over walls, the walls get taller, or the thing on your back that you're carrying, the backpack gets heavier and so on. We don't see that, but we do see this. This is what it means in dreams, me overcoming my obstacles. And so it's kind of like, I am overcoming obstacles, but I haven't really dealt with the stuff I need to deal with. It's still there right behind me.
Wow, very interesting. That is really a cool dream. Well, Michael, I don't have any more questions, so let's move on. The next one is called The Party and is from Abby. I'm at a party with Mark. Justin Harley, an actor, approached me. He and I engage in an esoteric conversation. He was animated and flirty with me and suggested we get intimate. I was in a relationship and I thought I could manage both. Mark was away from the room when I spoke to Justin. Afterwards, we were all in the room together. I had decided to get intimate with Justin, but did not share it with him. He was looking at me with deep focus. I felt uncomfortable, as I didn't want Mark to see this moment. When I looked around, I saw that Mark was gone. Wow, Michael, that's a very interesting dream.
All right. So the party, we know it's about birth. That's the title. She comes in. We have Justin Harley, an actor. So we're sticking with the theme of channeling. She's a channel because that's what the actor represents. And she is learning to channel actually currently. And so this actor approaches her, which is good, and wants to engage in conversation. That's really good, especially this esoteric conversation. So it's like, okay, this is engaging my spiritual interests and so on. And so if you're learning to channel and then you have a dream about an actor getting close to you, and then especially wanting to get flirty and then even go further and get intimate, it's all fantastic. It says that the classes you're taking are working and your channeling ability is getting closer and closer. And you're pretty much guaranteed from this dream that you're going to make out with your channeling connection. So that's really what it means, that you're going to really have an intimate understanding of how your channeling works and be able to do it and so on and so on and so on, which is all perfect. But then we have the partner showing up in the dream, Mark. And she's feeling bad. Like, I want to be intimate with Justin, but what about my partner? And we see this frequently in dreams. And it only crops up when the dreamer has an issue that they still need to deal with around the partner. And so it's like, I want to be a channel, but the issues in my relationship or issues with dad, if we go back further than just this relationship, cause me to have difficulty with my channeling ability. I want to work on it. I want to develop it, but I hold myself back because, etc. Now here she doesn't, which is great. So it's even better because she's already doing the class. And again, it's symbolic. It's not about cheating on her partner, but it shows the issues with the partner. And so when I asked her about Mark, she said, she said, I liked in the dream that multiple men were finding me attractive, but I felt deceitful. But also, it doesn't read properly at the end of the dream. She said she saw that Mark was gone, but her partner has abandoned her at various times in their relationship. And so that's really what the issue is. She wants to get really good at channeling, but can I depend on it? And the can I depend on it question comes from the fact that I can't depend on the men that were in my life because they haven't been dependable. And so therefore, will this gift support me in the way that I need it to support me? And so we see the overlap of the two. One issue affecting her belief in this ability that she's currently training herself in. Anyway, quite an interesting dream. and very easy to understand once you understand the pieces of it. Still needs to work on the issues in the relationship, though.
Yeah, I like that. I thought it was really a cool dream. And is not channeling masculine energy?
It's both masculine and feminine. And so it's one of the rare ones that uses both energies. It's like the masculine is used to understand and convey what's being received, but the feminine is used to receive it. And so you have both energies working in harmony. So you kind of get into this altered state where you're not using your brain yourself, but you're allowing it to be used, and then you're witnessing what's coming through and then sharing it. So you kind of have to get out of your own wave, you know what I mean? Almost like if you get into this really creative process where you're thinking and waiting for some really good idea to come. And it's different ways for everybody, but it requires both those, the receiving and then the putting the structure on what you just received. So both energies are involved.
Wow, that's awesome. And so the being able to say it back or put structure on it is what's holding her back because her partner has abandoned her.
Yeah, absolutely.
All righty. So the next dream, let's dive in, is the performance that morphed. Ooh, very interesting. And this is also from Abby. I went to see a performance. I thought it would be inside, but it ended up being outside. It was a performance that turned into a movie. It could have been Taylor Swift, but I wasn't exactly sure. I was alone, and then I thought I was with somebody. And then when I got there, I thought I could see many of my high school girlfriends in the far distance in the front row. They were sitting in a row having fun. 4 of them morphed into 5 or 6. And at the end of the show, I decided to let it be known that I was there. I debated about that. So this is a long dream, Michael. I'm just going to stop there and let you dive in.
All right, perfect. So very straightforward. We have Taylor Swift. Again, it's about channeling. The dreamer is learning to channel. And the dream is about that. But also she, in the dream, is getting in touch with her feminine side. And we see this in many dreams. And it shows up in lots of ways. One is it'll show up as getting in touch with high school friends. Generally, we'll pick high school and you lose contact with those people. And so in these dreams, we often find ourselves back in touch with high school friends. The high school part, again, also makes it a spiritual dream. So this is a goal of yours to get in touch with your feminine side. And so the fact that we keep getting more and more female friends showing up is really good because the whole point of the dream is about getting in touch with the feminine side.
And that's what the morphing into 5 or 6, adding more female friends.
Yes, but then you see, she says, I was looking at them all there. They're all over there and I'm here. There's already a distance. She says, I can see them in the far distance. So I keep people at a distance. That's ultimately Abby's issue. I keep people at a distance. And then at the end of this little part, she's debating on whether she will introduce herself to these people that she already knows. So will I reacquaint myself or get back in touch with my feminine side? And there's always going to be a reason that I keep people at a distance. And with this particular woman, if you met her, you would not think that because she is incredibly good at helping you come out of your shell. And you feel listened to and validated and seen by Abby. She is just amazing at that. But what you may not notice is she hasn't shared anything about herself and rarely does. And so she's really good, but she doesn't, she keeps people at a distance at the same time as letting people open up and share with her. She doesn't share back.
Oh, very interesting. As I walked closer, I saw my friends, Pat and Randy. I had recently seen these ladies at a luncheon on Facebook, so that was probably the tipping point. But I saw them and went up to them, and they were doing the girly thing. Oh my God, Abby, it's been so long since we have seen each other. Love the accent, huh? My friend Sue was there in her youthful beauty. She is now so much less than that with her aging and all of her health issues, but she was there looking splendid, which is really cool. Another friend of mine who I didn't know, the friends kept morphing into different people. There was a woman who was not Black, but suddenly she became Black, and she introduced herself hugging me. It was a name I didn't recognize, but she knew me, so it was okay that she hugged me. Alrighty, Michael. Next wave. Good
Okay.
luck.
So again, my friend Sue is there in her youthful beauty. I love that part. Again, it's the same. It's like she said she's not that now, kind of insulting for Sue. But this is how, again, dreams put us in touch with our feminine energy. We see somebody's health being restored. You might see an old ailing aunt on an IV and getting like rejuvenated, her health being restored. So it's restoring the health of my feminine side that I've neglected and has become old and weak, or whatever way you want to put it. But she sees Pat and Randy, two other females, and she connects with those. That's really good. And then we have Sue. I talked about her already. And then we have the woman that she doesn't know. So the fact that the people keep morphing, it's not about the individual people. It's really to emphasize this is about feminine energy. It's not about them. Otherwise, it would just stick with that particular person. And then it would be about the traits of that person. And that's why they're in the dream. But here it's all about these are women that you have lost contact with or don't keep in contact with it much. And they're all showing up in the dream. And then here's another aspect. So it's like, this is somebody that claims to know you, but you've forgotten her. So ultimately, you have forgotten your own feminine energy and again, being asked to reconnect with it because that woman hugs her.
Yeah, then there was a woman who was not black, but became black. What is that? Is that the fears?
Yeah, it's the fears again. We saw it in the earlier dream too. And black in dreams and white in dreams on their own, they're not really good. They're about negative aspects of us, nothing to do with skin color. There are fears connected with me getting in touch with my feminine side. That's all it simply is.
Wow. Okay. I think that's good for that paragraph. And now we're going to go to the next. Then there was another woman who had a face mask on. Her hair was somewhat of a bandana, and her matching face mask over her forehead and nose was created from the same material as her bandana. And as I looked at her and thought, goodness, that's quite a fashion statement. As we spoke, she said she had nose and sinus surgery and had to keep her face covered. Her eyes were black and blue, and she thought that that was a better way of presenting herself. She put on this homemade mask, which had fringes on the side that were not even. So it looked like a seamstress needed to even it out. I said hello to her, but I didn't remember her.
She puts on a mask, hides herself from other people. And her mom did that, but she copied it too. So when I had the conversation, now this is really bad because we see the woman has black and blue eyes. So if I said I was black and blue or somebody was black and blue, we know what that means. It's not a good symbol. It's like, I am bruised. I have been hurt. I've been through rigors in my life, but I hide that. I don't let somebody see the black and blue of my eyes that's around my eyes. So in other words, I've seen a lot of pain in my life. That's what this is saying. And I hide that from other people. And people who do this, they tend to do it because their view is, well, why should I share this with somebody else? Not that it's none of their business. It's, I don't want to burden people with the struggle of my life. That doesn't do them any good. And so they're doing themselves a disservice by having that attitude. But again, just reveals a very difficult, painful life from this particular dreamer. So if you really did get talking to her and say, what went on for you? Like, you'd want to brace yourself for the stories that are going to come.
Wow. What about the fringes and then it being a bandana covering her hair?
It's just the covering. You're not going to know how I really think, but I will extract from you how you think. You're going to feel really good in my space. I can create a loving, open space for you, but I'm not going to share in the space. I don't give myself the same honor.
Wow. One more paragraph, Michael. This has really been good. Very insightful. The other two became three, were old high school friends of mine. We laughed and giggled, and the, what are you doing here? And the, so good to see you. I remember the concert/movie being very entertaining. After I left, I got into my car and drove away. It was a yellow car and drove away. I didn't know where I was driving, but I left them.
Okay.
Wow, Michael.
Horrible end. Everything was good on that point. But then it's like, I left my feminine side again. And the yellow car in the dream is going to be about I'm intellectual. I get into my head, and that's the way I distance myself from my heart. My comfortable space is to be in my head, analyzing, thinking, rationalizing. And so that's what she does. And she's very aware of it. So a sad end, but the dreams aren't going to give up. This is going to keep coming at her and keep coming at her.
Well, but at least she's starting to channel, and she is trying to connect with her female side, maybe.
Oh no, definitely feminine side, no question. But there's work to be done, and she has it planned. It is going to happen.
Oh, good. That's great news. All righty, Michael, let's try to fit in one more dream. I'm excited about this one. The title of it is Getting Down from the Wall, and it's from Kay. There were many helicopters flying overhead, and I was with my deceased husband, and we had to get through this little hole on a high wall. He went first. Then I was climbing up, and he was on the other side trying to help me get up and through. I was having a little difficulty with getting into the whole area. My husband had jumped down into a large body of water before I completely got through. I got to the top and through the hole, and when I looked down, I didn't want to jump. It was a long way down, and I could see a pillar type thing just underwater. And I thought, if I jumped, I could land on that and hurt myself. He was down there and encouraging me. Then there were a few women behind me, and one dropped a thin red thread for me to use to get to the water. The first red thread she dropped broke, but the second one she dropped went as far as the water. I didn't think it would hold me, but as I slid down it slowly, it held me and worked perfectly. I got into the water and was swimming to the shore where my husband was. Then I was in a helicopter, and the pilot couldn't get the helicopter up and over a wall, and he was supposed to get it up with the other helicopters up in the sky flying around. He went up to the wall and then decided to just land it. So he did, and we got out. All right, Michael, this is very interesting. I'm real excited to hear what you have to say about it.
Okay, so we see the wall that we saw in the earlier dream, same thing, trying to get over the wall or through the wall. This dream is really about Kay's spiritual birth. And if you look at the very start of it, she's with her deceased husband, and she's trying to get through this little hole in a high wall, and he's on the other side trying to help her. Like, that's where he is in the spirit world, trying to help her with her spiritual quest at this moment in time, which is really cool. And the helicopters would normally be about the heart because of the sound and so on. They're different in this dream. They represent spiritual oversight. So her goal is to achieve the same height as the helicopters in the dream. She wants to achieve the vibrational state that these helicopters represent. And she's having difficulty doing it. Now that's okay, because she's only a short while on this quest and she's already accelerated enormously. But the dreams are going to point out what her issues are. So she has this feeling that although I can channel and although I can do various other things, I'm not at the vibrational state that I know I need to get to. And that's fine, because she's pushing herself. It's good that she's pushing herself, but it's not a negative. But the whole thing in the dream, like going through the hole, moving down from the cliff area into the water, it all really represents birth, but a new spiritual birth, particularly because the husband was in there.
I was going to ask about the red thread, and why was it red?
That's because you like the color red. Is that it, Sandy? And you always want to know what red means. So red is the color of the base chakra. So it's like this climbing down a rope or a thread here, and she's like, will it hold me? So it's like, I don't know if this is safe. I don't feel safe yet. I'm still going to do it. And it worked and everything's great. But it took 2 attempts, right? But it's positive. So this is my birth, moving down and then raising the vibration, like in the helicopter that doesn't quite make it to the wall. Like that's what she has to work on. Still has
and
something
the wall
to do.
is
The wall is
barrier.
the heart. The wall is the heart. And Indeed, so are the helicopters. It's raising her vibration to get to that heightened state that the spirit world is already in. And she knows she can achieve this. So this is really cool for her to have the issue show up is one thing, but to know that I can go higher than I currently am. That's a fantastic
Wow,
thing.
that's awesome. That is phenomenal.
All right, that's it. We're out of time for this week. So
Yeah, that was fun. Thank you, Michael. I enjoyed that dream and I've enjoyed the show. I hope you have fun and I hope everybody has a fabulous week.
yeah, we have to raise Sandy's salary for the show because she put so much effort in, even put voices on for the characters. See you next week.
Bye.